as a warm up. Nathaniel, you start.
When I was a Dutch woman,
I found the cure for loneliness.
Which was deep inside my bottle of whiskey.
which was also empty with no whiskey in it.
Except for a small little frog.
Named Bob Costas, who hosted the Emmys last week.
No awards were handed out because of the COVID.
Great, now we're going to get canceled because we mentioned COVID.
Can't get canceled. Wait, that's not my turn.
No, I just...
Cancel culture is the culture of canceling things.
I can't wait for cancel culture to get canceled.
Can you cancel a cancel culture if the culture that canceled the cancel culture isn't canceled?
Oh, my brain hurts.
Yes. No. Maybe.
I don't know.
The possibilities are unending.
Possibilities. 'Twas brilling in the slithy toad, did gyre and gimble in the wib, all nimsy were the bold roads and the mob brats out grave. Beware the Jabberwocky, my son. Closet.
Okay, you're not allowed to quote the Jabberwocky like that because I can't quote even one word from. Actually, I can quote Jabberwocky.
Jabberwocky.
It's all coming back to me, said the blind man to his deaf son as he peed in the wind, saying, "It's all coming back to me."
That's great.
And that son is How I Met Your Mom.
Well, every time someone says, "all I see," I always think of that, and I say the whole thing out. And Lotta hates it when I do that because she just always looks at me and is just like, "I'm glad you can make yourself laugh."
Oh,
I'm just like, yeah.
It's like, well, that's just because you can't make me. Oh, maybe you
No.
can.
No, she's probably one of the funniest women I know.
It's because science. She's got humor
It's
down to a
because-
science. Ching.
it's because science.
Yes.
Science brings us together.
I thought this could be just a fun way to start it. Just.
Da, 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 da.
Been a long time.
I'll have a single whiskey. I think that's how you order it.
Just want something to dance to.
It's
Good
been a
morning,
while.
good evening, good afternoon. Oh
We're
my
definitely
gosh.
not in the club.
No.
No. Oh my gosh. I just needed to hear it again.
I know. It's
Just
been,
needed to hear it before it was edited. But yeah.
let's
Well,
start this off by congratulating Nathanael for doing the sound for not one, but multiple Vigi games.
Oh yeah. I mean, just jumping right into it.
Oh yes. I was
not-
like,
we're
Do you
not-
not remember doing this? Like,
We're just
it
not.
was-
We're not even gonna address the fact that we haven't made anything in over a year, or
we probably should. This is kind of like a soft reboot, or is it a hard reboot?
I only do things hard.
depends how much foreplay was involved. You're welcome.
That's our podcast.
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining us.
It was nice being here.
Good night.
Good night.
Like, are we Jay Leno now?
Even further back, tonight was sponsored by Nicorette. No.
Nicotine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm Evan, Nathaniel, and David.
He's all three in one.
You forgot. You probably all forgot who we
Father,
were.
Spirit, Son.
But yeah, this super exciting. Nathaniel made music for a video game. And,
I did.
In the meantime, while we were all doing stuff,
Literally, all but one of us did something impressive. You got a house. You
David,
did.
what did you do?
Nothing.
Did you get in trouble again?
I mean, you got engaged in.
What do you mean again? I've been in trouble. My life.
just
My
like
life is-
consistently a steady stream of trouble.
It is literally just probationary trouble. all
Didn't
the
you get
time.
engaged last year?
Oh yeah, that happened too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
Okay,
shut up.
yeah,
We all
never
did
mind.
something
Okay.
memorable. Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
I spent a lot of money. That's
Well, you know what they say. You got to spend money to make money, and you spend a lot of money.
yeah.
So you must have made a lot of money, right?
Nope. Just keeps leeching money. Tip to everybody out there who's in a relationship: don't. Period.
I mean, if you look at it that way, like, I didn't buy a house. I'm in debt now. So.
but you have an asset to your name, though. You
Yeah.
are a greater person as the circumstance. Versus, I'm just a guy who bought something expensive. I'm just as good as that who threw $100,000 into the ocean on a cruise ship. Hear about that? You know what makes me mad? People who have $100,000 and throw it into the ocean instead of using it for something.
What, did,
You know
did
those
he-
commercials? Oh, you could only spend $1 a month to save a kid. How many
Wait. So wait.
kids-
Did he do it on purpose?
Yes. As a flex, he threw $100,000 into the ocean
In cash.
in cash.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
just to show he has it.
Can you give me the what do you
name
call
of the
them?
gentleman?
No.
Oh.
The,
Can you give me the coordinates of where he
exactly.
threw it so I can go out and try to...
Absolutely.
I'm gonna coordinate my way there and take that cash.
I heard about that, and it's one of those things where it's kind of like, it's one of those people who they purposely wreck a really fancy car just to prove that it doesn't mean anything to them. Like, do you remember when Mark
Zuckerberg?
no, guy who owns the Miami Heat,
Oh,
Shark Tank.
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
you mean the Dallas Mavericks?
Mavericks, I'm sorry.
I was just like,
sorry.
Miami Heat.
I know.
don't know who owns the Heat. They just said Shark Tank. I'm like, oh, you're thinking of the wrong dude.
He was interviewed after a game, and he said he like dropped an F-bomb, and then afterwards they were just like, oh, like post-game interview, they were just like, oh, by the way, you kind of dropped something in the interview.
Oh,
We've
right,
been
I heard
informed
about
that
this.
you were fined $15,000, and he's like, oh, and then she was just like, but it's going to a good cause. It's going to such and such charity. And he's like, so if I swear again, I lose another $15,000. It's like that. And
It was
he
like,
just
F it.
F it. So it's like, wow.
So wow, he could just drop 15 grand F-bombs like no one's bit, and it's like fine.
But like that, it's like I like it's there's a moral.
At least
spin
it's
to
going
it.
somewhere.
Yeah,
good.
and it's doing something. It's like,
right. It's going
Which that
to
makes
one
you-
of those bureaucracies where it just like gets spread around.
and they just claim that it's for a
$5
charity.
goes to the charity. No,
Yeah.
it probably was a good charity.
But no, Kodak Black decided I want to drop $100,000 into
Oh, it was
the Pacific
Kodak.
Ocean.
Of course, it was Kodak Black.
I mean, when you're named after a camera and a color, are you really that smart? I'm just saying.
Oh gosh, there's this really great YouTube video about Kodak Black. They just like stitch him saying the same thing over and over, and it's the most awkward thing. I be living in the moment.
You been living in a moment.
I be living in the moment. Yeah. Really.
You made
stupid.
music for a video game.
You've said that 5 times already, but we've
I'm just
not talked about it.
I'm
Keep
appalled-
saying it. I like how it sounds.
I'm appalled, impressed, and fascinated all at the same time.
Yeah,
'Cause
so I participated in a game jam. This one was the GMTK, Game Maker's Toolkit. So basically, you coordinate with teams of random people. I mean, it could be people you know, but they like constructed the software where you could basically go and depending on the roles that were needed, you apply, and people, if they want you on their team, they'll like, every like process is different. I got into a team like pretty easily. Because their application process was, can you make music? Yes. Okay, you're on the team. so yeah, we had 48 hours. You could use any of that time. Like, if you wanted to sleep for 40 hours and only work on the game for 8 hours, you could do that. But we made like a really simple game. I did the music and the sound effects, a little bit of the level design. And while I was chatting with like a few other game devs on Discord, there's this girl who had a really cute game. I gotta be careful here because if someone on my team hears this, then I might be canceled. But, so, yeah, I just made a single song for her game and 1 sound effect. So, I technically was on 2 teams. And,
man.
yeah, both of the demos got published on itch.io, which is a super indie website.
But you're published, bro.
Yes.
There's
No.
something-
My point is that there's no, like, AAA games on there because it's, like...
No, but
There's actual video games on here and not like big budget
that's what I'm
money
saying.
spends.
That's like, it's better than being on like New York Times next bestseller because
Because everyone is.
you have morons who couldn't write a book in their life and they just plastered their face in the front and somehow it's a New York Times bestseller. But your stuff's published. Your effort is out there, physically available.
Yes.
You know the last thing I published that's physically available?
Your obituary?
I don't have anything that's physically. Nothing. Zero. Negative. At all.
Thank you, sir. Cheers.
Cheers. Seinfeld. On that topic,
Dude, I'm like, it's so hot in here. I'm like dying.
it's a little warm.
Yeah.
So we have the fan pointed out of the room in a vain attempt to draw the hot air out, but I didn't pay attention to the thermodynamics, so I don't think it's working. So
No.
we're gonna spin this right round, baby, right round. And what's the best method?
That's fine.
Deflect the wall a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
And
best.
maybe pull in.
And I'm gonna switch out of this chair because it's really creaky.
But I like that. It has like haunted house vibes, though.
Okay, now it's not doing it. All right. Let's
So-
get back on track. So yeah, I worked on 2 games. The name of the games are The Fall. It has like a little cool, or like a little cute fox that you pair controls to like 3 different keys. So you have like a combination of moves and stuff. The other one, I didn't vote for this name, but it's called Stuck Balls. So that is a thing. You can play both those games at niche.io. Just search them, and if they have the GMTK tag, you'll be able to just download and play them, or play them in the browser.
That's fantastic. I'm very both proud and honored and impressed to know somebody who actually, like, how. So it took 48 hours in its totality, or how much time did you actually spend putting together the sound? Did it take
how
a
much
labor?
time did I like?
Yeah.
A few hours. I mean, maybe.
What a flex. I was given 48. It took me a few hours.
So one of the songs I mostly had prepared. Prepared. You know,
Is it pre-prepared? So before.
So I had it prepared. I just like made a few tweaks and stuff and made sure it looped nicely.
It
looped nicely. And the other ones I made from scratch. All done in FL Studio. And I want to say on the first game I spent probably 4 hours. Might be a little bit generous, but I think I spent about 4 hours.
Wow.
And then on the other one, I just spent about an hour just tweaking the song. You'd be surprised how fast you can make music when you're inspired. Like,
I was gonna say, you like, in the circumstance, I would have just been like, when you were given the task, did you have any sort of creative tools to like gauge what type of music? Like, what was your creative process on that?
yeah, so our creative process was, it was 3 of us on the main team that I was part of.
Mm-hmm.
There was a coder, there was a artist, and there was me who, music and sound. We basically just talked. The main coder guy kind of led us because he has, the most control over coding and programming and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of is the one who knows what can be realized within the game. So he kind of was a team leader, and I mean, basically we just shot ideas around until we came up with a workable idea, and we talked a bit about the music, but I had quite a bit of control over what I wanted it to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
And I just came up with a few ideas, and we settled on, what we settled on.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of like, what is the team like? What do we think would match the game well?
Do you feel like in the process you were given enough control over like the genre of music? Did you have the one that you already had in mind that you were familiar with, that you were like, you know what, this feels like this type of music? Like, where in the process did you kind of find the heart of what music to use, but did you know like innately what type of music to kind of assign to these?
So yeah, like you mean like, did I find the heart of darkness is what you're trying to say. So, yeah, so I basically I waited for them to make art, because it was kind of like, like sketches that you have in a notebook type of art, scribbled in like blue pen. So as soon as I saw that, I kind of got the sound for it. It's kind of like, like electronic bells or something like that, with a little bit of like electronic kick and all that. Yeah, I think it goes really well. You guys can listen to it at some point.
Absolutely.
But yeah, welcome to my TED Talk. Thanks for the interview, David.
Thank you.
Wow, no,
I
like
appreciate that.
I like how it just started out like just immediately just, all right, we're just doing this interview.
Sorry. Hey, you know what?
Hey,
like,
we could put it like at a certain part in the podcast.
You're next.
It doesn't have to be the beginning.
Nah, that's okay. I don't mind.
You were next. At what point did you realize that you were a homeowner? When you signed it, or when you were inside the house?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds cliche, but I don't know. I feel like there's still some times where it hasn't really hit yet. I feel more like a homeowner when I have to like fix stuff around the house, and when I have to fill in cracks, regrade the soil around the foundation, stuff like that. And if, I feel like, okay, I'm doing housework. This is my house. I got to do this and all that stuff. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm walking down the stairs and I'm like, this is my house. It's weird. It doesn't feel normal. But anyway, yeah. So for a little context, my wife and I, we moved to Cleveland, Ohio, and we bought a house for a fraction of what a house would be worth in San Diego, because we
Unbelievably high out here, and it keeps climbing. It's impossible.
Yeah. We wanted to buy a house, but we knew we couldn't do it in San Diego for a reasonable price. So my wife got a job out there where she gets paid more, and And you know, our money goes further out there. And so, because yeah, for like example, how much? There was that one time you got your Mustang. You had to get your Mustang registered.
Yeah.
But you weren't driving it. So
Yeah.
it was like, so how much did you have to pay for that registration?
Gosh, probably close to $300.
Right.
I'd
Okay.
imagine.
Like $200 or $300, right?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. But you weren't even driving it. How much did you have
Yeah.
to pay for registration on the car that you are driving, though?
The Focus?
Yeah.
That one's also like $250-ish. 250, 280.
You know
roughly.
how much it costs to register both our cars?
I have no clue.
Our Fiesta and the Focus that we got. Like $160 together.
God. Unfreaking believable.
Yeah, it's like $80, like $80 to register your car in Cleveland.
Wow. And it's funny you say that because Sabrina just got her registration to do in the mail, and I like her and I were just like kind of sitting because she had a very valid question. She was like, I understand like insurance has a lot to do with this. What is registration for? And it was a very apt question, and I just kind of told her outright, it's kind of like borrowing a book from a library. You need to put your name on something so they know who has what. And then she's like, okay. And then she pulled out the registration, and she's like, but there's all these fees on here. And I never really looked at registrations here in California until I actually looked at it just then. There's so many additional weird, stupid fees tacked into these registrations that it doesn't really make sense why it would be included there versus it being included into the tax of buying the car initially. Because people who have different cars, they're going to have different cars, but it doesn't, like, I don't understand why it is these get so many more fees innately versus other states. And I know it's California, so it's, you know, it's California, but yeah, it's just, it impresses me how much effort they go into to create things that don't need to exist in financial form and taxes for things that don't make sense.
Well,
But-
remember, bureaucracy equals tax on tax on tax on tax on tax.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't want that?
Nobody. Anybody who has sense of financial purpose does not want tax.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
yeah.
what's your property tax on your house?
I don't know because we haven't gotten there yet because you pay property taxes at the end of the year. I think there was something on there that said how much we're gonna have to pay at the end of the year, or we're gonna have to evaluate that once we have to count our assets and everything. But right now, our mortgage with our mortgage insurance on top of it, we're paying like $1,000 a month for a mortgage. It's like without the insurance, it's like 900 something.
Wow.
Yeah. But we're paying
Holy.
we're trying to pay off the car, the Focus, off at the end of the year. So we're putting extra money into that a month, so that hopefully by the end of the year we have the car paid off, and then next year we can go super aggressive into the mortgage and try to pay more off more of it off, so that we can pay it off, in 4 or 5 years rather than 15 years.
Yeah.
Now try to find a studio in San Diego.
Seriously.
Renting a studio for $900 a month. Try to find that.
Well,
Impossible.
no, and then Doug and his girlfriend, they just moved out there, and they're renting a house for $1,500.
Where's out there?
What?
What's out there? Where?
They're actually in a nice area, like a two-story house with a basement, 1-car garage.
Where?
It's like a neighborhood, Parma. It's a neighborhood in Cleveland.
Oh, they're in Cleveland now.
Yeah, they moved. Yeah.
What? I
Yeah.
didn't hear about this.
Yeah, they drove out on the like at the end of June, and then they
Wow.
got
It
there.
was super.
Good for them.
It was super quick because I know that with Jen being a teacher, she has a very narrow window to leave the district she's in to get into that one before summer ends.
There was
over
there was
too.
also some stuff at home that I'm not going to indulge, but that she had a reason to leave. And then Doug, he's been wanting to get out for a while, just because they both have been saving up a lot of money to buy a house, but they also were like, they were both saving up separately, but then they were like, well, we can't really do that in San Diego, and we don't know if we're even going to want to be here for the next like 10-15 years, so let's pull our money together in a way. Let's join forces and move out to Cleveland. And so right now they're leasing a house right now.
$1,500.
$1,500 a month.
2-story house.
Yep.
I'm paying $1,500
With central air,
Central hair.
central air and heat. They had to pay for their appliances, like their stove and fridge and stuff like that. But
But still,
It's-
like even then,
it's
That's
really
a drop in the hat compared to.
it's really.
Goddamn.
Yeah, it's kind of, and it's a really nice area. The house is really nice. The one thing that they kind of got screwed over with is the landlords didn't clean it as well, and you could tell that the previous occupants smoked a lot, so like a lot of the walls were cut, so they spent a lot of time cleaning and everything. But
smoking these meats.
However, I think that but they're happy where they're at, and I think they're looking forward to, like, working and saving up some more, and then potentially looking for the only problem is the price of living is dropped, but so is the pay.
Yeah.
So if you can live with the pay cut with whatever job that you're doing, it's worth it, honestly.
But let's be honest, he really just moved out there so he could be closer to you. We all know.
Honestly, yeah. It's funny because it was weird because the first night he was there, the first day they got there, and we were just hanging out, like showing him the house, having some beers, and I just kind of stopped and he was just talking, and I was just like, dude, I can't believe you're here.
I know.
Like, it hasn't registered, and like you're here. You're not like visiting. Like you're here, and this is gonna be like a normal thing now. Like that's really weird.
You're gonna live here. You're gonna die here. You're gonna be buried here. I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah.
I like the idea of us dying here.
Right.
Get our plots next
Lotta
together.
definitely does not want to die here.
I know about that.
She's like I don't want to be here for forever and ever. Amen. Our plan is to pay off the house soon, and then sell it, and then use that money to buy a house in Germany somewhere. That's the long-term plan. So whether that's 5, 6, 7 years from now, I don't know. However long it takes us to buy off the house, but Lotta just hates being in debt, so she just wants to pay off things as quickly as possible. So that's why we're paying off the car first, and then we're gonna go super aggressive into the mortgage next year, and but yeah, so that's just a little, yeah.
Wow. Very exciting.
Congrats, both of you.
It's
amazing.
And congrats to you.
I just bought something expensive.
What'd you buy?
It's just a ring with a carbonized piece of.
It's not just a ring; it means something,
stone,
and you know it.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, not to David's troll Bridget, but as many people know, and as I've mentioned before, I don't have the best relationship with my brothers. I made the mistake.
Well, let me write that down.
What?
Doesn't have best relationship with brothers, so you can't use it
like
as a
Fallout.
reason.
You're making notes. That's right. He doesn't like camp settlements. No. So, I a while back had an idea of what I wanted to do to propose to Sabrina. I wanted to go to a little quaint town called Solvang out here in California, a little Dutch town, and I had the idea of going out there for a weekend and then proposing to her there. I made the mistake of sharing that with one of my brothers, and he really, really liked that idea, so he did it. And so I quickly had to go back to square one on how I was going to do that, which luckily the initial idea was just recreate our first date. Our first date was we went and got pizza at my favorite pizza place, which is Nicolosti's. And then we went to Boomer's, to where I obliterated her in mini golf. So the idea was I was going to do that and then have her parents and my parents meet us at the final hole, and then when she puts it in, instead of pulling the ball out for her, I would pull out the ring for her.
Oh, yeah.
Machine gun. Mow them all down. Yeah.
You will marry me.
I think Sandy Hook was something. No, I'm kidding.
That's a left jab.
You want to hear a really great joke I heard?
No. Yes, we will potentially. I'd love the opposite.
I'll give it a space.
We could always cut it out.
So, Sandy Hook was terrible. A lot of kids died. And
needless to say,
I think that them dying though wasn't the worst thing that happened to those kids. I don't know if you know this. So they did some investigations into it. The kids, all they wanted were books. They didn't have books. They got magazines instead.
I think that.
And back to the story.
So basically the child was half full.
Yeah.
Of bullets.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Kind of like the glass half,
They have plenty of iron in their blood now.
Jokes are funny. We're gonna have to explain them.
So you see, a gun is made out of.
Basically, it's actually like a meat infuser. except you can do it from anywhere. And you're giving them
All right, get back to your
essential item.
lovey-dovey story.
All
This
right,
is
and break so you can cut this out. So,
No, we're keeping that in. No.
all right. So
You're going to get all that hate.
I
for
hope
that.
so.
I'm not.
I hope
Let
so.
me write this down. The world will know how awful David is and that he forced me to say that.
Forced us to keep that in. Yep.
So I couldn't do that because with COVID and everything at the time, Boomers closed permanently, the one I took her to. And then Nicolosi's, the place in which we went, their location was closing temporarily as well. And so there was no way I could have done that. But our second date, when it was around Christmas time, so what I did for that date was we went to my other favorite Mexican place, Hacienda, and then we looked at Christmas lights, and then we drove to the top of a mountain over here called Mount Helix, and just kind of looked at all the lights and stuff like that after hours. So I figured, hey, why don't I do that again, except in pseudo reverse order. So she's blonde, for context. I convinced her that a friend of mine was telling me about a phenomenon because he and Sabrina and I were out kind of looking at cool naturey things. We went to like the tide pools a couple weeks beforehand. We wwent to the La Jolla Coves, that long cave that stretches into the sea. If you've never been there, it's super cool. So I was just like, hey, Preston was telling me about this thing that you can see on this specific day. It's called a green sunset. And it only happens like 1 or 2 nights out of the year where when you watch it, the sunset turns green for a moment and then disappears. Uh-huh. And she took it full-heartedly. And the reason I told her this was because I wanted to record me proposing to her, and I needed her not to be suspicious while I was bringing a camcorder and a tripod and all this other stuff. So I needed to be convincing. So she was like, oh, okay, sure, yeah. And I was like, yeah, we can go up there. Preston's working, so he can't see it, but he recommended us go and find a good spot to do. And I was like, oh, we can go to Hacienda and then go see the green sunset. So I actually had to work that day. So I ended up being in reverse order. We ended up going to the Helix first and then going afterwards to Hacienda. But got the camera set up, made it look like I was pointing towards the sunset, which I did point it towards the sunset. And then just took a brief moment to distract her by pointing something else out so she could turn around. And that's when I proposed to her. So made it very easy. She said no. No, I'm kidding.
She said no, so I asked her again.
So I asked her again, and then she reluctantly said yes, no.
And how did that make you feel?
Like the happiest man in the world.
The weirdest feeling of it was I felt nervous for sure. I didn't feel
a thing.
I didn't feel like I had to question it, I kind of knew she would say yes, but in my heart I didn't want to be disappointed, but at the same time I kind of felt like I knew her and she knew me enough to where we wanted to be inseparable.
Is this from Gurren Lagann?
My friend drew that as a sticker. It glows in the dark.
Drew that?
Drew that? That's impressive.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to totally. I just saw that.
To be fair, it's a great sticker.
I just saw that. I was just like, is this Gurren Lagann?
Anyway, so he legit drew that?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a comic artist.
Damn.
That's impressive.
You know some fucking creative people, bro.
Right,
Yeah.
you know so many creative people. Like, what's it
I
like?
know, right?
As a non-creative person's
Right, as
Don't lie to me. Both of you are super creative. Maybe not like
name one
drawing
thing
something.
I've done creative.
you come up with really crazy and weird ways to tell stories.
The entire day you've been
Just
saying
shit that
some
happens to
weird creative crap, and I love it.
It's
It's
like,
just shit that happens to me, though.
man, meth is a hell of a drug, man. Like,
Method acting.
okay. Anyway, so your feelings.
So ketamine's a hell of a drug. No. So yeah, it was like one of those things where I didn't really feel pressure. That's not the right word. I didn't feel like there was anything to be concerned about, and it's an odd sensation for me because I'm a pretty naturally anxious person, and I don't like in situations where a lot's relying on me or I'm relying on other people. I get very I can't describe it in words, but it's like a moment where you're halfway through waiting in a line at Disneyland and you realize you don't want to ride the ride. If that makes sense. You're kind of like,
That's a good illustration.
I'm here, I'm wanting to do something, but the fact that the people around me are more in control of the situation than I am, and it's not even like a control thing. It's more like the situational awareness of stuff, I guess. But anyway, so having that moment where I was like, I'm going to propose to her because I want to spend the rest of my life with her. It was like a weird moment because it was like like you could probably attest to this. There's like almost a sensation of understanding. Like you knew this was going to happen, and you knew that things are going to work out, and so you didn't question any other options or any other outcomes. You know?
I mean, yeah, but because the thing was, we had talked about it ahead of time. Like we went into the relationship going, we're dating, and we're getting into this long distance relationship to see if we can be married to each other. Like we're in this for the long game, not for the playing around to see if it works. Because you don't play around in a long distance relationship like that for 2 years just for fun, because you're miserable half the time. But I will say, when I proposed, it wasn't. I guess I was more like, I wasn't nervous because I was nervous she would say no, because kind of in a similar way, it's like when you talk about something like that with someone for that long, you know, you're confident enough to know that they would. You know what I mean?
Because you've invested so much.
You've invested so much time. You both, you know, it's something that you both want. So
intentional investment.
Yeah, it's the intentional investment behind it. So it's just you both know that this is the direction it was going. So you guys can, it's just the natural step, you know, that you need to take to get to that next. But I think because I wasn't nervous at all, but then the moment I knew that she was like down the street and I was waiting for her, like that, then I started getting nervous, which was weird because it was the same situation. Like I knew she was gonna say yes, but and again, I mean that totally and not in a non narcissistic way. Like I knew she would say yes. Look at me, I'm a specimen. No, it's just but part of me was nervous because I asked her in German, and I was worried that I would butcher it, and you know, but then in the end, you know, it didn't matter because it was just more like, I think she just appreciated the effort more than anything, and so I don't know. I think, and it was similar to I had a similar feeling on our wedding in August that everyone went to, because by that time we were already legally married, and we had been living together and being married for we were married for like 5-6 months already at that time. So it was already kind of like, you know, whatever. And people were like, "Oh, are you gonna cry when she walks down the aisle?" And I was like, "I don't think so." No, and like I genuinely didn't think I would, because I'm usually not someone who, I've never happy cried in my life. Like never. I had never been so happy that I've been brought to tears. And then like the minutes before she was about to walk down the aisle and everyone started, you know, taking their seats, like, you guys are both there. I was a nervous wreck. Like I was shaking, and I'm like, why is this happening? Like,
dude, it was beautiful.
There was multiple times I saw Doug just be like,
he's like, "You okay, man?" Yeah. And I'm just like, "No."
And I mean, yes.
Which is odd, because Evan as a person, both in present and just in general, is a very poised person. I think you can attest to this too. Is he doesn't seem like a person who isn't in control of how he feels at any given point. You know what I mean? He seems like a guy who, he knows his emotions, he knows his understanding and his mentality of things. He doesn't seem like a guy who's like, oh, you know, somebody cuts you off, you're going to be pissed the rest of the day kind of person. You're going to be like angry in the moment and back to normal kind of thing.
I think the word you're looking for is genuine.
Thank you. That's you.
I would agree with that. I mean, I definitely, I could definitely think of times where like something bugs me and it kind of like, because the thing is though, I will say there are times where like something will happen, and it won't be someone cuts me off in traffic. I usually forget about that kind of stuff. But you know, if something happens, and if I hear someone say something about me or whatever, or if I found out that someone at work said something behind my back or whatever, then that kind of sticks in my head, because it's just more of like, you know, why didn't they feel like they could come to me? And it's just more like, it goes like around in my head, and like I don't share it, and then
you have a mutual understanding of honor, and that's the thing, is like, in that sense, you're more honorable than the person, and I think that's what gets you upset. It isn't the statements; it's the fact that you yourself are such a, you know, respect and honor driven person, that the fact somebody wouldn't do that to you makes you upset to that point. I think that's really where you're driven in those cases.
Yeah, okay.
'Cause, you know,
I can see that.
Because you've talked to me in the past about personal stuff where you're just like, this is what's going on, and it's like, I can tell it's eating you up, and it's not because of what's going on. It's just because you're driven by the emotion of understanding, respect, honor. The core values like many of us don't have. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So it's just kind of. So I would say that it was to answer your question, to bring it back to your original question. Jesus.
To finally fold the burrito up.
To finally wrap up the burrito, it was. There were nerves, but I wasn't nervous.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
There was like a giddiness, but it wasn't. I wasn't anxious.
Yeah.
That's like the best way to put it.
Like sharing a good secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like anytime I'm with you guys, like for D&D, like I want to tell you everything I have planned, but like I can't, and it's like drives me insane.
Right.
That's why I have friends, I have other friends on Discord and stuff that are DMs and that I talk to about all this stuff, and they're just like. And I have my friend Noah who lives. You remember Noah,
remember
right?
Noah,
yeah.
of course.
Yeah, he lives in North Carolina. He is one of my biggest guys that I talk to on Discord. We meet up like once or twice a month and just have a DM workshop.
Creative meeting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have a creators meeting where we both just sit down and we just share ideas back and forth. Like, here's what I'm doing in my campaign. What are you doing in your campaign? And we just go back and forth. And
Don't tell me that's not creative. DMing, dude, you're literally creating a whole world and story.
It's immense, and
I'm also writing a book based off of the campaign.
There you go.
See, and
that was supposed to be a secret for you guys, but it spilled, and I was just like, I gotta tell you.
And now it's on a podcast.
Yeah, okay, I'm writing a book. Whatever.
Jeez, both of you are like. I've sat down and tried to type out more than a page or two of a novel, and then halfway through, I'm just like, I'll reread it. I'm just like. God, I'm bored and I haven't even written the rest of this book. What the f***? And I just...
The problem with that, and I found this too, was my problem was I started out with just writing the book, but in reality, it's like you type out the story as kind of is points basically, and then
outline
as an outline, and then you add to it, and then you add to it, and then it becomes the book. That's what I've been doing, because it's like when I asked for you, I also asked for Leah's campaign notes. That's what I was doing. I was using your notes to make points in the story chronologically, so I could make an outline for it. And I have a full outline for it so far, and the campaign so far. And then also, just as the DM, I also know a lot of things that you guys don't know.
Right.
So I'm filling in the cracks from what are the big bad guys doing while you guys are here doing this? And you guys have no idea. It's like, are they watching you this whole time? Are they? So it's like, hopefully, if I can get this, if I can have it finished slightly after the campaign ends, which whenever that will be, then
full score 7 years ago.
Then I would kind of make it in a way where it's almost like each chapter or every other chapter is recapping a session.
Yeah.
And then you guys will read through and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then it'll have different details from the DM's perspective where you're like, oh, I didn't know that person was there that whole time. And it's just kind of more of yeah. So it'd be...
It's going to be awesome to read, because it's I already know
it's basically the campaign with it, the director's cut.
Yeah.
Or, director's commentary.
Yeah.
That's the biggest equivalent I can...
And you're making the Schneider cut out of our campaign.
No, don't say that.
No?
No.
Well, good segue.
Absolutely.
Great segue. But yeah, so this is we're just kind of doing a very brief recap to just our lives and what we've been doing and what we've been getting involved with. This isn't really an episode with a nerd topic. It's just more about what's been going on in our lives.
Even though we did talk about video games in D&D.
Absolutely.
Which, and just in its own way, just kind of shows that we've never stopped
being
nerding out.
Kill me now!
We've been gone over a year, so.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Where are they now? Well, back where we started in a
We're
room.
literally,
recording.
say, yeah.
literally nothing's changed.
We're still sweating
Still,
in a room.
still
still around a
sweating
mic.
profusely. That's why I'm wearing a tank top.
See, you were smart. I'm
I've
wearing
developed-
like
you're
I'm
wearing
winter wear.
sweats, a black tee. Like you're. Oh, God,
I'm
you're-
melting.
God, you're an idiot.
Yeah,
I
Black
am.
Friends.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Anyway, we're gonna be bringing more content to you guys. We miss doing this, and
Absolutely.
we're definitely gonna try to make it more of an effort to do this more. I feel like we said that
Multiple
last
times.
time,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but we mean it this time. Yeah, so you can catch us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, pretty much any of the main places you can find
7-Eleven TV.
You can find someone, mainly my mom, told me we should make a TikTok. I don't know how that would work.
Dude, actually, I think we could make some really funny content.
It's just kind of, and it'd be kind of fun to have like behind the scenes stuff and like editing podcasts and going like what goes into and just kind of.
And if one of us dies, we can make a hologram
Yo.
with technology. Can that be me?
Why? Why
Well,
would you want to be the
'cause
first
I'll
one?
always be with you.
He wants to die first. That's what he's saying.
You know,
I
it's
mean-
like the dad
And
doesn't
the-
want
and
to
the thing
see
is, though,
his
you are-
children
I mean,
die
the thing is,
first.
though, you are the oldest, so statistically,
Chances are,
Wow.
yeah.
chances are you're the one to go
Wow.
first. What? I'm not being.
It's true.
I hope I'm not. I hope I'm the first. I don't want to.
Oh,
lose
wow,
one of
you-
guys. I don't want to lose one of you guys. I don't want to be around to be.
How selfish.
How selfish. You
How
should be the one
selfish. I'm
suffering the
self-preserving.
most.
I'm sorry.
You know what? Like I hear people say it's like I want to live to be like 100 years old, and I'm like, have you
Dude, I
seen
know.
80?
Yeah, it's
Like
rough.
I work with people who are over 100.
For
Yeah.
me, it's not so much
No.
like being like, you know,
The moment I get back
potentially crippled and stuff. It's like how many people you have to lose.
No, the moment I get back
Yeah.
to diapers, I'm done. I don't want to.
Crunchmatize me, Captain. I want to be made into Captain Crunch cereal.
Oh.
Just blend my ashes in there.
wow.
It's like, you know how you have those boxes with the potential of having like a prize in there?
Oh, I was about to
you
say.
want to be the prize.
I want to be the prize, and it's infused in the cereal.
Oh God.
Anyway,
Anyway,
I want to be made in one of those Walmart find a gem rocks. Just make the clay around it me.
anyway, that's all for this episode. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.